Alright, drafters, it's that time again where we'll look at the 17 lands data and look at what's been overpicked and underpicked. Before I go on the overpicks and underpicks though, I do want to have a quick look at the way the colour pairs are ranked and just kind of how the different decks do overall. Now, Segovitz did do some great analysis on this with a few tweets. If you don't follow him on Twitter, I definitely recommend following him. He does a lot of work with 17 lands and does some really good analysis for them. So if you're interested in that, definitely look him up. I'll link to his Twitter down below. And while I'm on it as well, thanks to 17 lands for providing all this data, because without it, this video would not be possible. Anyway, we're not going to look at the monocolour stuff, even though it's got quite a high win rate, but the number of games played with monocolour or just monocolour with a small splash is really small, so it's not really worth looking at these. You can see monocolour is 138, monocolour with a splash is 60, and then two colour is 22,000, so they're not really worth looking at. So we'll look at two colours. We've got an overall percentage here of 58% of games played with a two colour deck is are won, and I think it's about 55% overall for 17 lands. So this is a good little increase as to the win percentage here on the average. And as expected, the enemy colour pairs, which aren't supported in this format, don't have many games played, so we're going to just about ignore those. There's nothing too major going on here. It looks really bad in particular, but not really worth looking at those. So we're looking at the 5 allied colour pairs. So you've got Azorius at 61.8%, which is huge, and that's actually gone up since yesterday. I think it was about 60% yesterday, alongside Selesnya, and these two were a lot closer. And then you've got, the next one is Rakdos with 56.4%, then Demir with 55.6%, and then Gruul well in the bottom end here with 52.6%, so that's well below average, and that's pulling them down by quite a bit. And that's a pretty accurate, what I think I've generally felt best starting in the band colours, so either blue-white or green-white. And if we go to 3 colour decks, you do have 2 colour plus a splash, which kind of shows the same kind of idea going on here. Again, Azorius and Selesnya are top, Gruul is a lot lower down, and then Rakdos and Demir are somewhere in the middle. And then if I look at the full 3 colour decks, so these are, I can't remember the point where it goes from a splash. I think a splash is 1 to 3 cards on the off colour, whereas 3 colour is when you have more than 3 cards in the smallest colour. Again, unsurprisingly, we don't have very many in the wedge colours, so we've got it in the shards, which is what this set's all about. And Bant is well in the lead with 59.6. You've got Naya, Grixis and Esper, which are all kind of close. And then you got Jund right at the bottom, which I'm kind of surprised about, because the way I felt about these drafts, I've felt happiest starting a colour pair within Bant, and then usually going into a 2 colours with a splash. Bear in mind, these have all been drafted. You've got, in the full 3 colour decks, you've got 106,000 decks drafted here. And then in the pure 2 colours, you've got a fifth of that. So yeah, it's about 1/5 of the amount who are going full 2 colour. A little bit more than that on 2 colour with a splash, and then loads of people drafting 3 colour. And that's because drafting a pure 2 colour deck is really, really difficult in the format. You're probably going to be looking at a 2 colour with a splash, but that seems to be the way to go. You've got an overall percentage here of 56.1 at the 3 colours compared to the 58, which is not a huge difference, but some of these 2 colour decks are really, really good. But generally, I've felt best starting in a Bant colour pair and usually splashing the 3rd colour. If I start blue-white, I can then go splash black, which is another good reason to start blue-white. And I've also felt quite good starting in black-red, and then maybe going into some kind of Jund black-red deck, the black-red sacrifice. Now, Rakdos is only 56.4. It is the 3rd one, I suppose, so that explains why I'm quite happy to go into that. But that's how I've kind of felt going into the format. Either one of the Selesnya colour pairs on my first pick, and then Rakdos after that. However, I've found that the rares are really, really, they really dictate what's going on. So there's a lot of rares which would really make you want to go into a certain colour pair. So I could go Gruul for the right card. I could go Demir for the right card. It's not really hard in the set. But just if I'm looking at, if I get a really good white, blue or green rare, then I'm really, really happy to go into one of those colour pairs. Anyway, let's have a look at the pick orders. So 17 lands gives us this. We're looking at Premier drafts. For the most part here, because these are the ones which I've done the most on Arena, I think. And we're going to be looking at the game in hand win rate. It isn't a be all and end all, but it is a very good marker. And first of all, straight away we see here, Sanctuary Warden's got the best game in hand win rate, so it's 70.5, which is huge. It's one of the bigger ones I've seen. Usually it's mid to high 60s for a very good cards. So 70.5 is really, really high. I did manage to lose a game with this recently. But unsurprisingly as well, the ALSA, the average last seen at, is really low. So that means this is very, very, very rarely passed. So it means it's seen, average last seen at, the last place it's usually seen is pack 1. It's always going to be picked, whereas a card with a higher ALSA, so if we look down a little bit towards the bottom, you've got Ominous Parcel, ALSA of 6.77, so that's pretty much always gets around towards the end of the first round of picks, so you're going to be getting at pick 6, pick 7, it might even be likely to wheel, and the bigger this number, the later on you see it in the draft. And again, unsurprisingly, the best cards do get picked earlier. So what we need to do is we need to do a little bit to fix this. So you can see the best cards are the ones that are getting picked earlier. There are some discrepancies. So it looks like Obnixilis is picked a little bit more than it needs to be. But we also have things like Rare Draft on Arena, which are going to skew this a little bit, and we can't blame people for that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this data, but in a spreadsheet form, so we can do a little bit more with it. And what we've got here, we'll come back to that one in a moment. What we've got here is I've ordered these, again, by the games in hand win rate. This was done a little while ago, so there might be some slight discrepancies, but it won't change very much. So we've got the game in hand win rate here, and what I've done is I've ranked the average last seen at, I've ranked the game in hand win rate, and then for the difference here, I have just found out what the difference between these two is, and that means if we sort by the difference, a little bit of spreadsheet action, what we end up here is with cards at the top, which are picked very highly. So this has got an average last seen of 2.36. So usually you'll see that, latest you'll see it is really picked 2, but the game in hand win rate is 49%. And again, the game in hand win rate, or any win rate on 17 lands, is usually 55% because the better players use it and the not as better players don't use it. So the average win rate of a 17 lands player is higher than that of average. So 49% is shown as pretty bad. But again, we've got cards here which are seen to be not very good, but a lot of them are rares. If you look down here, you've got rare, mythic, mythic, rare, mythic, rare, rare, mythic, and it kind of goes on all the way down to the first one we've got here is Security Rocks, which according to this is the most overpicked common or uncommon. So what I'm going to do is, on top of this, I'm going to so all these are overpicked rares. It's probably worth looking at. Yeah, you got Angel of Suffering here, which I thought was quite good. But the game in hand win rate is fairly low, actually, 53.6 and things like that. But you do have some here which are a little bit more understandable, but they're just picked really, really early. So if I have a look at this one, what I've done is I've taken out all of the rares and mythics, and I've redone the rankings. So that's why you got Rumour Gatherer ahead of Security Rocks here. There's not much in it. 108 to 102 on this difference score. And that means that your cards which are overpicked are Rumour Gatherer is definitely overpicked, Security Rocks, Call and a Professional, which I'm surprised at because that's a very, very good removal spell, I thought. But maybe just Strangle's better. I'll really need to have a look at that. So we'll actually have a look at that in a bit. You got a game in hand win rate of 54.3, but Call and Professional hit and face, and also getting creatures with shield counters. Maybe it's just not being used properly. Maybe people aren't using it against things with shield counters. That could be another reason for this. But all of these cards here are ones which are really, really, really overpicked. They're picked generally quite early in the pack. A lot of uncommons, unsurprisingly. In fact, all uncommons down to light them up, which I didn't ever think was particularly great. Jetmir's Fixer is also not great. Whack apparently isn't the best, or maybe it's just picked really, really highly. This is one of the ones which is got a better score. This is a winning score, but maybe it's just getting picked a little bit too highly at the moment. And the other end of things that are worth having a look at here are at the bottom. So go right at the bottom, eagle-eyed among you will spot something there, but we have the most underpicked card is Make Disappear. So it's a counter spell, which I've not played yet. I have had it played against me once or twice, and I don't know, I think it's been fine, but it looks like it's very, very underpicked. It pretty much wheels every time, and it's got a game in hand win rate of 59.7. Now that might be because it has a it's only been picked by the best players at the moment, but it's definitely worth a second look for Make Disappear. Same with Revelation of Power. I do like Revelation of Power in these tempo decks. These green-white tempo decks usually, or white-blue tempo decks, and if you can get the counters on things, it's really, really good. And I've found that as I've hit the higher ranks, then it seems to be a lot more of an aggressive format. So the life gain can be really good. For the family is one I'm surprised to see this high. It's got, again, quite a high win rate. It's a 32 best common or uncommon out of... there are 181 here in total, so 32nd out of 181 is pretty good, if we're being honest. Then Disdainful Stroke, another counter, so we're seeing a little bit of a pattern here. Counters are being underpicked. Then Run Out of Town, and then a few other things as well. Something else that I found interesting is if we look at the colours of these cards, usually on the underpicked cards, we'll see some gold uncommons here. And that's because they will generally go around a bit longer because not everybody can pick them. Here, they're in this 3-colour set where I've got lots of gold cards, lots of 2-colour cards, lots of 3-colour cards, even common and uncommon. Not many of these are gold. You've got Broker's Initiate here, you can see it's white, blue, green. So that is quite a way up on these underpicked cards. And I'm really, really, really surprised to see monocoloured cards being underpicked. And that just says to me people need to pick these monocoloured cards a lot higher because, for example, Make This Appear, okay, maybe a counterspell won't go in every deck in the colour, but it can go into the banned Brokers, it can go into the Esper, and it can also go into the Grixis decks. So, you know, if you are ending with 3 colours, it can go in any one of those decks. Whereas the Broker's Initiate can only really go in Brokers, and even then you've got to splash it sometimes, and it's not always great, although I do quite like that card. I like a copy or two in my Tempo decks. So we've got quite a lot going on here. Like I say, and another thing is that, you know, you've got blue, white, green, blue, 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 white, black, white, white, green, blue, 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 white, blue. So lots of blue in here, which shows that blue is generally underpicked. And then a lot of other banned things. I think there's Quick Draw Dagger, which is a card which I've made a video about. You can probably see, well, I'll put a link down below, and I'll probably put a card in now as well. I did a little bit of a small deep dive on that card yesterday, and I found it's really good. Rooftop Nuisance I found really good, and I have noticed this one going around really late in packs. So yeah, we've got a lot of very interesting cards here down the bottom end, which I think a few other content creators are picking up on now. I've listened to Lords of Limited. I know Newmott's been talking about Quick Draw Dagger, and I see it here, the Limited Resources write up about things, but these are all seem to be really, really good decks, and I do really enjoy the Broker's Tempo deck, which just kind of gets in. Well, definitely kind of been in the mirror a lot more since I got up the ranks a little bit from where I start the season at. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've found something useful. If you did, then of course a like and subscribe is always appreciated. I do like doing these videos, and I think they seem to be quite useful. Thanks again to 17 Lands for the shout out. Thanks to 17 Lands for the data, rather. I'm giving them the shout out. And I hope to see you all again very soon.